Umair Javed, founder and CEO of Tkxel. Welcome to the Insight Jam.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here because what you're doing is a little bit more unique than what we often see here at the Insight Jam podcast, and that is you're building a services business in Asia and now really kind of going global, and you're obviously leaning into the AI moment. But talk a little bit about where you're positioning Tkxel and where you're seeing opportunity.
Sure. So I started Tkxel somewhere like about 16 years ago. And you're right, even though I have built that company out of Asia, the customer base is entirely US or North American. We are expanding globally now into the MENA regions and other elsewhere as well. But for predominantly, it was a business based on a value prop that we have a lot of high talented workforce at a kind of a fractional cost available, and that can do it. But let me kind of take you through a bit of journey for that Excel. So I am again by I did my undergrad as an electrical engineer, then a computer science guy, and I had that love for teaching and did a lot of teaching at universities. And during that, I came across a lot of students who are very kind of energetic, motivated, want to work something, and that's where I figured out how about forming up a company. If I had not been an entrepreneur, I would definitely have been a teacher. And that's how I kind of built my company. So I took some of these few students with me, and out of a university lab, we started on a company journey. While building up that company, one thing really struck me. I wanted to build up a product company. And when I figured out that, look, right now what I have is a workforce, but I do not have any idea on the products that are right now needed in the economy where I want to sell these products, quote unquote US. So let's say my market is US. I had never been to the US at that point in time. So what would it take to really know? And internet was kind of, not as blazing as we have it today. So I had information, but not really how the market works there. What are their wants? What are their needs? What is the problem that I'm going to solve? And so on and so forth. So I kept on thinking about this idea, and this services thing came up to my mind, and I figured that we kind of do technology well. There's a lot of talent over here, and thanks to the internet, I feel that internet had been a great equalizer. There's West had a lot of knowledge, and due to internet, that knowledge was seeping through out of the US to the entire world, and so we had everything available to us in terms of whatever we wanted to learn and do. So we thought, how about starting up a services company? And that's where you were asking me just before that the name of the company Tkxel, and those were the days when you had only this .com as a domain. So I spent like 3 days on GoDaddy finding a name that can match technology acceleration, what we want to do, but couldn't.
I know the feeling.
And finally I kind of stumbled upon this abbreviation Tkxel, and I said, look, this looks like good combination of technology, excellence, accelerated, X factor, and so on. So yeah, got the domain, and that's where. Only that I've later figured out that everybody, whenever they started talking with me, they say, "Hey, am I pronouncing the name right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." So
yeah, no, believe me, though, it's hard to find a URL that's short and interesting and available.
right.
So yeah, so let me ask you this, because, well, first of all, you make an interesting point that to build a product company, you're kind of betting the ranch on whether or not that product is going to hit properly, and sometimes you can spin up a fairly large play there, and it just rings hollow and doesn't get adoption, and then you're kind of scrambling. Whereas in a services business, you're really helping, my guess is, others kind of puzzle through what they want to build. And what is your sense in terms of for an entrepreneur thinking about that sort of approach, which one do you think is easier? Because I know they both have their challenges, obviously. One might be a little more high risk, but one might be a little more management intensive, if you will.
So I think many times it's the circumstances and the parameters that you have that lead you there. That's a good point. That you have picked as well. That I was thinking that I'm not in that market. How would I be able to solve that market? How would I see a product market fit and so on and so forth? But there was also another problem. I mean, when you're building up a product, you are actually building something for which you need cash. And also you need to do market. I mean, these product-led growth, these cheap advertising or low-cost advertising, they were not that much available at that point in time. And at that point in time, I didn't see a lot of funding even in South Asia for any product companies. So I see the services business as a quick cash on the door kind of a thing as well. You do certain service, you get paid. That's a cash. That's kind of a drug as well, because you are getting cash every month, and you may lack the kind of intensity to build up to leave that cash and start building a product. But one of the things is not just the services business, not just because you do not know the market. It's just also because do you have the funding or not. So at that point in time, there was a lack of funding. There was no product market fit. So I started off with the services business. Today, I think a lot has changed. I mean, the funding sources are also available over here in Asia. And with the internet being so widely adopted, accepted, and everything now available on net, you can even do product market fits figure out over here. And there had been great companies. I mean, there are billion-dollar companies coming out of India and elsewhere, like Zoho, Freshdesk, etc., who are making their mark. So yeah, it was the problem at that point in time, but not that much as of today. Having said that, still, I would say that building a services company out of here in these countries is a lot easier as compared to product company, and there's a reason around it why. In the past, all these countries kind of used to export physical labor to Middle East to get some foreign exchange. Now they can do it digital labor, if you will, and which means that this part of the world has a lot of population, which means if you can train them well, there are a lot of people who are ready to provide digital services, and these are the services that someone out there in North America needs to build their product. So it's a great match in the sense that capital is flowing from west to east in terms of payment of services. Talent and technology is flowing from east to west and so on. And together, they're building the future. And because it's getting more and more homogenized as compared to two different spheres. So, yeah, I think there are a lot more product companies over here in the east, and correspondingly, there are services companies in the west. But talking about Tkxel, so we started off with the ambition that we would like to help mid-sized businesses and startups build their dreams, and we want to be part of that. And if we can see if we can get an equity in the play as well, then we will do that as well. So we started approaching a lot of these startups, mid-sized businesses to sell our services, and we managed to figure out a sales process, a marketing process, which is an interesting story in itself. To how to reach out to these people, how to start selling services. And then we started going. And right now, our value prop is really, we provide some of the very best teams when it comes to engineering for startups, some of the very best teams to do digital transformation or AI transformation when it comes to businesses or enterprises. This is what we do as Tkxel as a company.
Let me ask you this: why do folks choose Tkxel as opposed to trying to build something internally? Or, I mean, what are they looking for when they're choosing Tkxel? What do you think?
I mean, so I do come across this question a lot of times in multiple ways. One is, what is your particular value prop? I mean, why you and why not someone else? This is a valid question. There are two reasons. I mean, people do not do outsourcing or offshoring or choose Tkxel just because it's a low-cost thing. Sometimes we are not even a low-cost option for them. It's because do they have enough talent available there as well? So with internet, with this great global economy, I mean, entrepreneurs, they find their supply lines any and everywhere in the world. A lot of goods are made in China. Similarly, a lot of labor is available around the globe. So it's not just the price. I think it's also the availability of talent that companies like us provide. And then obviously there's a huge cost factor. Now, why they would choose us, not someone else? You can go that route that I am the best fintech company out. Yep. You want to say something, probably.
Well, I guess it's not so much why they would choose you over somebody else, but why would they choose anyone other than building it internally? I guess is what's the upside to outsourcing something along the like building out a project or a product or a new application or whatever it is that they're building.
I think they have a limited amount of funding and they want to do it fast and quicker. So they get a lot more people in the same amount of dollars by spending. If they can hire one person in US, they could probably hire 3 persons over here. That give them scale. Even if you discount some of the productivity being lost in the communication, but they still get scale.
So walk me through the process then. Like how do you get in tune with what they're trying to achieve? So they obviously have decided they're going to outsource to you, and for I mean anybody who goes to your website can see all the reasons why. There's a lot of success stories on there. But they've decided to do that. Now they have to convey to you their hopes and dreams, as you say. How do they do it? What's the process you've developed? What makes it come together so that, because it feels like that's where disconnects often could happen, is that they just can't articulate clearly what they're trying to accomplish, and so the project doesn't come together the way they'd hoped. I don't know. How do you do it? How do you absorb their ambition?
So I think there are 2-3 stages where the companies kind of interact with companies like us. At one stage is they know their vision, mission, and they know the product they're building. They already have a CEO, they already have a CTO, and maybe a person or two. So they know what they want to build. And the rest is now communicating it to engineer. It's no different the way they would communicate it to someone sitting right beside them versus someone sitting thousands of miles away. They have to create a backlog. They have to groom a backlog. I mean, people have kind of solved. I mean, building a perfect product and giving the requirements in a perfect way is never a solved problem in software world, but people have somewhat find ways. So, I mean, they would communicate to their engineer sitting on the next table through a backlog or something, or discussions. And with all these great communication tools, they will do the similar thing for engineer who is probably thousands of miles away. Now, what is different over here is, I think that's the difference between a good company, a good team versus a great team. The companies or the startups who really do it well, they involve offshore teams in their town halls and their vision and their mission, helping them understand that why it's important. And that's where the difference I've seen happening over the years. My best teams, best customers are those who take these teams as theirs, involve them in their town halls, their one-on-ones, and so on and so forth, and align them with their mission. So that's one part. But over here, we are talking about the technical founders or technical CTOs. Now let's talk about business. A CEO who probably over there, we just traveled many times, post-COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID, to just be at the customer site, be with them in a room for 2 days, map out their vision, map out what they want to build, do a discovery workshop with them, try to gather requirements, do a quick prototyping, visualization that really helped them understand why they want to do that. What is their objective? What is the problem that we are trying to solve? Most of the time, what is very common that I've seen is customer would come to you with a problem and they also try to describe a solution. I think one of the key trick is really forget about the solution they are telling it to you. Talk to them about their problem and then create a solution and see if that's the most optimal solution that will eventually serve their need and can fulfill as a solution for that particular problem. So instead of just taking a dictation, try to understand why they want to do this and is there a better way of doing it. And for that, we do discovery workshops, be on site with them, and do a lot of meetups.
So you work with, again, on your website, you've got some of the biggest brands in the world that you've worked with. You've got also startups and emerging technology, smaller emerging technology companies. And what advice would you provide to somebody, who is trying to build something brand new and doesn't have maybe as much of a corporate structure or a culture yet necessarily, and so they can maybe be a little more efficient. And what advice do you provide to the larger companies that have a lot of cultural barriers potentially, or just internal political issues, and it requires you to work differently? I mean, where do you see the differences in the projects that you take on?
So
Because
I
it's a
think
pretty wide range. It strikes me as a pretty wide range what you're delivering.
I think it's nothing different from the way we know startups versus an enterprise. A startup is known for its agility and their wish to change the world. An enterprise is known for its general process, bureaucracy, security, and then delivering certain value. So when you are giving a team to a startup, you have to embrace that agility. You have to create that visibility. Just be available. Give them a feeling sense of you are there for them all the time. Having the process comes second, the output becomes first. Your ability to solve a problem becomes far more important than your ability to follow a certain process and do something. So that's where high agility, high visibility, high kind of, I would say, your advisory or probably your ability to contribute to their vision, that what counts. And you have to have a mindset like that. When it comes to a corporate, here is a set of processes. You have to be super good with them. You have to understand what are the what is the team's technical vision, business vision, and also the political vision, and just stay within that ambit, kind of try and let them achieve what they want to do. So I think what the difference is, you have to be a lot more process centric, a lot, because and it's right in a way as well, because the thing that you're doing with the enterprise, which is probably generating billions of dollars of revenue or $1 million of revenue, a small change can, if it stops the business, then you are, I mean, on a daily basis, must maybe losing millions of dollars, and you have to be careful over there. And startup, you can break things, you can fix them. Sure, you should have the ability to fix them fast if you can, but you are not afraid of shipping and correcting. And I mean, I
So
mean, yeah.
so do you think about your own internal teams as more, this team would be better for a startup and an agile environment, and this team is going to present better to a more established, larger, maybe more requirements, more security issues? Do you think about your teams as these are the startup teams and these are the kind of more established enterprise teams?
Absolutely. It's really, I mean, a startup CTO, CEO would really like to work directly with the team. And he want a rocket scientist in each one of his people that he's working with. On the other hand, an enterprise or a large business would like to see some gray hairs in front of them, talking and
Yeah,
presenting.
yeah,
They being having a bit of age and having a bit of gray
yeah.
hair is kind of a part of the deal. I mean, they feel secure. Like if someone is a
Right.
50 plus year CIO, he wouldn't give a business to like a 20-year-old engineer, but a startup CTO would. So yes, I've seen, I mean, organically, this kind of differentiation does come up where you have more mature teams generally and process-centric team working and more comfortable with enterprises and businesses versus you see these young hotshot engineers who would want to change the world, want to be in a startup, and they are aligning themselves more into in the startup side of our business.
So let me ask you where the action is right now. So I mean, we got to get into it, right? It's been my working supposition over the past year that everybody is frozen out of fear as to not get it wrong. That everybody is pushing down. We need AI at the board level. We need something. We need an AI thing. We got to get into AI. We got to do something. And there is so much news, developments, releases, models that the senior leadership is paralyzed and doesn't know what to do. And they're actually, again, that's my general sense. I know there are plenty of, I'm sure they're working with you, the ones that are moving quickly, but it strikes me that a lot of people don't know what to do right now and don't want to make the wrong move. I mean, what's your sense of how people are facing this beginning of an obvious complete transformation of the world of work and the world of technology?
What you have said is right on the money. I mean, and let's pace him to that. So I've been talking to CEOs, CTOs, CIOs on daily basis. And yes, last 1 year and even till now, everybody wants to do AI and nobody knows what to do with it. What are the use cases? There's a lot of inertia. And if you say I'm Umair.ai, everybody would want to talk to me. I can even raise money with that as well. But you are right. People are frozen for many respects, not just in AI. They're not spending elsewhere as well because they think that, hey, if I spend money on this digital transformation, who knows, I can do it for free with AI in 6 months' time. So yes, the world, I would say, is frozen, and the middle part of the world. I mean, there will always be leaders and laggers. But let's say if I've spoken to over 200 companies in the last 2 quarters, I would say 90% of them are really, really frozen. They want to hear what can be done, and they are not yet ready to pull the trigger. And there's a lot of noise as well. Why? Because every company now calls themselves an AI company. You can get an agent right from $1 to maybe $1 million. So nobody knows what to do about that. So that's where what I have seen. I've been talking to the business leaders, C-suite, and yes, that's the situation.
Well, so my other combining factor here is that in order to get an AI program to really produce max value, you need incredibly deep and clean data. And the dirty secret of most organizations is their data sucks. That they don't have deep, clean data. They don't even know where their data is. They know they have a lot of it, but they're not sure they want to admit, maybe they don't even want to admit how bad their data can be. And so they don't know how they're going to take advantage because deep down inside, they're not sure they have the natural resources, I guess, internally to even build something that's going to move the needle.
So you're right that there is a need for data to correct it. But let me just tackle this question a little differently, and we'll come to that data part as well. So I think it's very important to first understand what is an AI and what is a Gen AI and what is the classical AI was. I mean, we had been investing in AI projects and so on and so forth. The classical AI is like you used to have a team, you used to collect data, then you built model, then you used to annotate their data, train that model, and it would be like an year-long project to do something out of an AI. With Gen AI, Doug, the AI piece has already been done. You're not doing actually an AI. You're doing actually, if I'm strictly speaking the Gen AI part, you're actually doing digital transformation with AI, which has already been done, and that is we are calling AI transformation. Now, what does that really mean? So if you think of these LLMs, they are akin to a brain, and our brain as Andrew said, I mean, we do 4 or 5 things pretty well. We can summarize, infer, generate, or expand onto anything. And now we have an artificial brain that would do that. Now, plug it into a typical digital transformation project. Now you have access to brain. So that means you can understand conversations, you can infer meaning out of those. There's a lot of natural language processing that has become very easy. So that's what the capability that Gen AI has provided us. Now it's our job really to use that capability in a digital transformation project. So Gen AI part has been done. You have to use this capability. Now, this capability, because it's a brain and it's non-deterministic, sometimes it gives you an accurate answer, sometimes it won't. It will hallucinate, and many times it will give you 2 different answers to a same questions, like a human would. So how should you really approach this project? The very first projects that you can really approach is, I generally tell my customers, look, if creation of a something takes you about, let's say, 10 hours, but if somebody has created it and verifying is taking you like 2 hours, and 80% of the time it's right, that is a one typical area that where we can do a lot of AI. So I think you have to approach projects in a in different way. Or there are, in terms of creating new thing, if you are fine, if it's sometimes not generate the correct thing, but it can fall back to human. These are all use cases where these models can work very well as of today. So that is why customer support marketing becomes the very original ones, or the earlier ones, because in marketing you can hallucinate, it's crowd creativity. Customer support, you can always fall back to a human. So this is the AI part is we are not doing, we are just using this brain as a part of a digital transformation. So that thing people know. And before I let you speak, there's one more thing. There's also a difference in the way you accept these projects. I mean, this typical software project, you have an acceptance criteria and you say, this has done this. We should be able to accept it. Over here, you will not get an accurate thing. So you need to have something called, I would call a confidence score, that I'm confident that 70% of the time it gives you my right output. So, I mean, there's a different way of approaching these AI projects, and then it will open up a world of opportunity for you. At least that's what we are doing for our own organization, if not for others.
Well, so the term digital transformation, which you've been using, is a term that's been around for a very long time, and is a term that I would almost suggest people are tired of hearing about it because they haven't been able to figure it out. And that's another one of those things where it's like everybody's been talking about digital transformation, and I would again argue, knowing kind of my perspective on this, that most companies could never quite figure out what digital transformation really meant to them. And so they'd talk about it, give it lip service, but they didn't really get there and achieve it. And maybe now what you're suggesting is because of generative AI and because of these large language models, it makes digital transformation an actual practical path that they can now get to. And maybe that's the first step, is start to do digital transformation before they figure out real custom AI implementation. Is that what you're seeing?
So about that, but let's see how we transform a process. So let's say Doug says, hey, Umair, can you kind of do an AI transformation for my sales process, for instance? And I would say, how would I approach it? And that will address all 2-3 things. I would say, let's, on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, let's see, what do you do to do your sales? I mean, do you send out messages and somebody responds to you? Then you kind of enrich that lead, and then you talk to them. And while talking to them, you kind of get into your past experience, portfolio, and so on and so forth. So these are all the steps that you are doing. Now, some of these steps you are doing on pencil and paper, analog steps or manual steps. You cannot do an AI on top of that. So very first thing, you need to get them done digitally. So that's your digital, at a very core, that's your digital transformation, that you're not doing it in a digital way.
Is that truly what you see as kind of basic digital transformation? Is this moving from analog to digital?
So you start there, you start into your digital transformation journey by moving. I mean, at the core of it, what is digital? This is digital. You were doing a paper thing, but then when you're getting into the weeds, you're redefining your process. You're doing a business process re-engineering. You're doing a business process optimization. You're seeing what are the objectives. You're aligning your digital transformation objectives with the business objectives, and so on and so forth. I mean, yes, it's a very. I've tried to make it very simple for that, but it's a huge thing in its own right. But what I'm trying to get to, if you do not have a process being done kind of digitally, doing an AI transformation on top of it will not start. And to your point, if you do not have the data, what you're trying to achieve. So, I mean, there are things that you can still do without data. So let's say Doug wants to know about, but because someone else has that data. So you want to know more about me, you tell an agent, hey, find me more information about Umair. You may not have that, but the LinkedIn will have it. The World Wide Web will have that. You'll still can kind of diving into that data and getting that information for me. But if you want to apply it on your own company, just need to have that data too. So your first point, at the very core, if you really want to do it right, you need to have data. And a lot of your data gets generated as a part of a digital transformation process. And then if there is so much data, you're an enterprise, you probably should have your data strategy, you should have your data governance in place, the way you organize your data, your warehouse, lake, smarts, and so on. And then on top of it, you can build your AI transformation, but that's where we're talking about the big guys.
This is a fascinating time because there is clearly now a superpower. I've seen every revolution. I'm old enough to remember when we found when the PC landed, and I went through the internet revolution and mobile revolution, cloud revolution. This one seems like it's going to be bigger than all those combined when we finally get there. But is it like how do you help people really come to grips with what they can ultimately achieve? I mean, it feels like I said that there's a lot of people who would like this to come in and transform the organization from top to bottom, maybe even eliminate a whole collection of humans and cut costs. And I mean, what do you do here? Is it agents? Are you looking for agents that you're going to try to build for yourself internally? Are you waiting for all these companies that have received all this funding, these product companies now, these AI product companies that have been funded over the last couple of years? I have to assume all of those products are eventually going to land, and there are going to be mass amounts of salespeople selling AI products. But yet, some of the biggest companies in the world, like Salesforce.com, for instance, can't seem to figure out what their AI is going to do. I mean, we have Salesforce, and I haven't seen anything that's earth-shattering. I know we have Microsoft 365 and Copilot isn't transformative yet. And these are two of the largest companies on the planet who you would think would be able to deliver real value in AI agents. And I don't think people are seeing that yet. So what do you help people? How do you help people with that? Like, do you say, look, forget all that stuff. Don't wait around. Let's go build something for you. Is that how you're doing?
So I guess what we are telling people is that AI has given you access or is now allowing you to do a lot more different use cases that you were not able to do before. And on many places, it is allowing you to do a lot of things on scale as well. And why it's happening? So I don't see that the digital transformation jobs will be over. I don't see that in 2 years down the road, nobody's programming. I don't see it that way. I think this AI thing will make a lot of these things accessible to a lot of people in the short term. So if a digital transformation project used to cost X, it may start costing 0.1X or 10X or half of that. So it will make a lot of such stuff accessible to a lot of people. So in the short, medium term, there's going to be a lot of transformation that is going to happen. But to answer what you just said, that we go into the companies, we just tell them that, look, these were the use cases that you were doing. These are still valid. You still need to do that. On top of that, because now we can have this brain available to us, these are the additional use cases that you can do. So that's how we are approaching it. And I think for me, that is also the right thing right now. And you're right when you said that I haven't also not seen anything this at this scale in my 30, 40 years of looking at technology. Nothing has revolutionized so much. I was telling a few people that I saw Oppenheimer as a movie and I kind of fall in love with it. And what we saw at that time, we got access to limitless energy. It can be used for the good of humans. It can be used for the destruction of the human. Similarly, if AI lives up to its promise and we get to ASI or AGI, if we really get to there, for the very first time in our lives, we will have something. some nations, some people, some companies will have access to limitless amount of intelligence. So the stuff they can create will be a lot more as compared to others. I think that's where we need the world to come together and put in some regulations or whatever to make sure that it remains in control and everyone gets benefit out of it. Do we get there or not? We'll see. But I think the past 5 6 years, and especially the last two, they have been amazing. I mean, we have never seen such a big technological change.
Well, let's talk about the practical implications of what we're seeing, because there's no question in my mind that jobs will go away that have been performed by human beings in short order. And honestly, I have to believe that you have to be internalizing the implications to your teams, because these generative AI models, some of them anyway, code incredibly well. And truth of the matter is that at a baseline, just base code production is either right or wrong. It's not open for, it's not an art form. It's more of a science. Practically speaking, the junior developer role is going away. And I mean, would you agree that there are going to be, I mean, you have to be thinking about that. I'm sure you have lots of junior developers, and you have to be thinking, like, do we need these guys when we can just spool out a product?
Junior developers, junior marketers, junior anything, which involves any kind of intellect. I see these roles going away and being transformed very differently. I tell my team, look, these GPTs and all that, in my hand, they are like a killing machine. I mean, the work that I could not get done with like a team of like 5 people for over 6 months, I could probably do it in 2 days or something like that. So you're absolutely right. And we have already starting reduce. I mean, if something used to take about 100 days, now it's taking about 60 days in terms of our coding development. That is where digital transformation is becoming more accessible to others because the cost is reducing. Now, but coming back to the question that are these jobs are going away? For sure. People generally classify people in two categories: people who don't use AI and people who will use AI. I'm saying there is one more category which I see. There will be, in the short or medium term, there will be people who won't be using AI, and in the knowledge worker job, they will lose their job. People who will be using AI to shortcut or short circuit their work, in the short term, medium, they will also be gone. But people who are using AI to enrich their work, learn more and do it better and faster, these are the ones who will be kind of living through the storm. And eventually your entire workforce will start modeling around that. And one thing I can see more, there's going to be, at least in the short, medium run, there's going to be more demand for functional experts, product owners, as compared to your digital labor. So there will be a lot of transition in terms of there was an interesting, probably I saw it on your podcast or someone else. There was an interesting analogy somebody was giving that web developer used to get paid a lot, and then WordPress came in, and now that job is kind of. So similarly, if your job was because the coding was a cryptic process and you had to do it using requirements, you need to transform that job. So yes, a lot of these entry-level jobs, not just coders and marketers and sales, everywhere, they will be gone, and these people need to transform. I would totally agree.
Well, so what do you tell somebody who's currently studying computer science and is looking, the traditional path to your job was to start as a junior developer and then become a senior developer and then become an architect and then become CTO and on and on and on until you get to start your own gig. But what happens when you start to take those rungs on the bottom of the ladder off, and now there is nothing to grab onto as you're trying to get established? I mean, what happens to
You want an honest answer?
Yes.
I have no idea. And this is the magnitude of change, Doug, we are looking at. Now, what I'm excited about, that when such kind of a change happens, it also creates a lot of opportunities. Look at the internet. I mean, knowledge was a privileged thing. It was an equalizer. I mean, I 20 years back, studying here in a university in South Asia versus US would be a lot of difference. Today, every course is available everywhere. Internet has equalized a lot of stuff. So, and that created a lot of opportunities. So, where I am hopeful with all this, that again, while we are looking at a lot of lower end job churn in the short, medium run, I see a lot of new opportunities getting emerged. And I think with the change and innovation of this magnitude, there will be a lot more opportunities. There will be a reset. I mean, if you have been left behind in a race, today you can just start the race again. And so that's how you should look at it. So every hour, every single hour, you should be looking at what I can do with AI to build stuff and solve some business problem or resolve some pain. And you have to start thinking like an AI first company. I mean, my daughter has just started going to college, and she was saying, "Hey, Dad, should I be doing learning computers or marketing or what?" And I said, "Look, I don't know. Probably you should be doing both, but at the end of the day, start using AI to enrich your assignments. Know more about it. Build something and sell something, because that will never go away, dog. People will still have needs. You will still be problems out there. As an entrepreneur, as a founder, you got to be solving that pain. And AI, you should treat it as another tool in your arsenal."
Well, to your point, and I want to switch gears a little bit here, but to your point, there's never been a better time to potentially start a business because you have access to such powerful tools. And as you said, you can do more with less than you've ever been able to do. So let's talk a little about the entrepreneurial journey that you've been on, and advice you might provide to somebody like your daughter who's just starting to think about their journey. How do you think about maybe the younger people in your organization? Like, what kind of culture are you trying to build? What kind of leadership are you trying to deliver? I mean, what advice do you provide to people who are looking to succeed and may come to your office and say, what do I need to do here to be successful and move up?
I think there are a few things. I have a few parts to your question. Someone in the college or somewhere, I strongly recommend them that go through one business cycle. I mean, doing something and doing a business has never been an easier as of today as compared to the past. I mean, you can sell cupcakes by just running some Instagram ads, right? And these don't cost you an arm and leg. In the past, you have to hire a billboard or maybe put a ad in the TV or doing something like that. So the cost of advertising, cost of reaching someone is a lot. So what that really builds, that tells you how a business makes money and what is the top line, where are your expenses, and how the bottom line comes up. So to everyone who wants to do anything, I always tell them, why don't you go through that? If you even if you are learning marketing, just sell something, and that's where you'll figure out where your P's are: product, price, promotion, etc., etc. So that's one advice I would give to anyone: sell something, and then try to turn it into a profit, and then you'll figure out if you figure out it's not your thing, you will be better than any one of your competitor in a job, because you will know the pain and the problems of someone sitting on the other side of the table. So that's advice that is for everyone. That is an advice for even my kids as well. Now to apologies, and you asked a question to which I was answering. The kind of
Yeah, no,
advice.
I threw a lot of questions at you there.
Yeah.
But I guess my, how do you think about your corporate culture and getting people excited about, working and succeeding and staying? I mean, that's one of the big challenges as well, right? Getting people to be around and feel that they're valued. Like, how do you think about the culture at Tkxel?
Yep. So I think the way I build it, and what I try to instill into everyone as a very basic thing. And I said that, look, the company, or for that matter, anyone, we should be delivering value to our customers. We should be delivering value to our people who work over here, and we should be delivering value to our community. If we get this right, that our core objective is really to deliver value, to our customers, because that's part of our responsibility, to the team who's working over here, then everything else automatically follows, because the money starts following in, because you're delivering your value to your customer. They want to keep working with you. They want to keep expanding with you. You're delivering your value to their team. They want to stay with you, stick around with you. They want to stick with you through thick and thin. If you are delivering value to your community, you start feeling good about it. And that kind of starts reflecting in the way company gets built and the way culture gets built. So that is something of a very core thing that I tell everyone. The second thing is about going about value. The second thing I tell people is that, look, they need to keep people stick around for growth. And the growth could be financial, growth could be people are sincere and honest and loyal to themselves as compared to anyone else, right? And they're concerned about their growth. Now, growth could be financial, growth could be professional, it could be in multiple dimensions. When we do not give anyone growth in other dimensions, the only dimension that is left, which is money, and you have to pay more. Granted, you have to pay top dollars or top money to anyone who's doing great. But I think one needs to work a lot on the growth of the people in a company. Are you training them well? Are you treating them well? Are you upskilling them? People like to stick around at a company which is concerned about their professional growth. So at Tkxel, we do a lot of that stuff. Always make sure that our customers get value. Always make sure that our people get value. And then we do something great in the community, because that's, I think, eventually becomes a purpose. So that's how we're building. The third thing that I tell everyone, and within the team as well, there are two ways of making essentially money. One is there's a supply and a demand gap. I give them examples, and in the times of COVID, even a face mask was selling like something like a gold stuff or something. They become expensive. But as soon as the demand is over, there was not a lot of money to be made on that. But if you keep adding skill to you, that's where you become more and more kind of valuable to everyone. So these are some of the few things that we kind of live our life on these kind of values and try to inculcate within the team as well, and with our customer, do practice with our customers as well.
I'm gonna end with a little reality check for everybody who wants to be CEO, and ask you two things. One is, what don't you like about being CEO, or what are some of the things that are the least enjoyable part? Maybe it's not that you don't like them, but they're the hard stuff that people don't realize that a CEO has to deal with. And then what are the things that you love about being CEO? And I'm saying this in a long form, so you have a chance to think about that first one a little bit. But I know I know because I've done it myself. I mean, there are a lot of things that people don't realize you have to deal with, that keep you up at night, that are hard to deal with, and that sometimes are disappointing. Be any number of things. Give me a few kind of like cold water moments that people who might want to start a company need to be prepping for.
I think there are certain skills and there are certain things. I mean, what one doesn't like, it's really dependent upon the personality. I don't like a lot of negotiations. So I like to solve problems, expand, scale, and getting things done, and ideas. But sitting and talking to someone and negotiating, that's probably the only part I don't like about that. I think I used to get pretty frustrated as well when people do not tend to easily get what was very easy to understand for me, and then I really figured it out. I mean, that's an interesting story. So I got sometime back, I got twin boys, and these two have an entirely different personalities in terms of their even skill set. I mean, one is very rational, logical. They're small kids, like 7, 8 years old, logical, rational, and he would do maths like that, very intuitive. And the other one is very, very high on EQ. I mean, for them, I really literally realized that They born at the same time. Their parents have the same social status. They're getting the same amount of my time or my wife's time, but and probably the same education as well, but their skill set is different. So what I used to do is to spank kind of a people if they were not good at it, just to keep pushing them to be good at that. But what I realized with that as a CEO, one of the things that you really need to do is to identify the strength of the people and start working on them so they can really become successful over there. So to your point, I love everything about building up the companies that I'm in. That wakes me up, that brings me overhead. Don't hate anything about that. Yeah, but I don't like spending time sitting and negotiating. That's probably the hard part I feel. But if somebody wants to build a company, I think the two key skills are selling and recruiting that one should have. And that a lot has to do with communication. You have to get your message across to sell and even to recruit someone or even to raise money. So that what I would say is the most important part.
The other thing is that after you've done it for a long while, a lot of people think, well, you're just really good at it. But I always felt like I wasn't necessarily good at it initially. And there were a lot of days where people didn't realize how bad I thought I was. But yet I didn't let on.
Yeah, if by chance you get into something where your natural talents are and you really like it, you can become the world beater at that. But if there's a hard problem and you keep plugging at it, you'll get pretty good at it, if not the best. So if the I mean, I cannot be the best sprinter in the world to beat a sandboard or someone, but if I start running, I may not have the genetics for that, but if I start running every single day, I think I can become a decent sprinter. But by chance, if I get into something that where my genes also support me, I can really be the best as one. But to your point, yes, if you start uh, chipping at the problem every single day, one fine day you'll be able to solve it.
The other piece of advice, I think, is don't give up too early. Sometimes it does feel bleak. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's going to work. And it would be easy to quit because we can all do something else. But if you really want to have that satisfaction at the end and build something that you feel has a certain meaning to it, and because once you do get there, you can do interesting things for the community and for your teams and for your clients. And I think some people quit too. I think they give up too quickly.
I tell people that when they ask what's your kind of superpower, I said that the people who have become something over here at Tkxel, and including me, are the ones who show up every day. Doesn't matter if they're down, if they're up, if the yesterday was a positive day or a negative day, they show up every single day and try to improve. And eventually you figure out that if you keep doing it over time, you keep showing up to solve the problem, you get somewhere.
Well, Umair Javed, thank you so much for the time today. This was a great conversation. Very much enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the things you're going to do over the next 10 years in this AI moment. It's going to be an amazing time. And I think you're in the absolute best spot to have a real impact.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Doug. And I enjoy the conversation as much as probably you do, even more. But thanks for having me.
All right. Best of luck.
Powered by Insight Jam.